you are not happy, you come to the conclusion that you have to, in fact, do something. So then you screw up the courage and you come to a guy like me and you say, help me, fix me. And I say, sure. And I give you some supplements. And one of the supplements I give you is a capsule. And you say, hey, what is this? And I say, why, it's dirt. Enjoy it. And you're like, dirt? Why the hell am I eating dirt? Well, let's get into that. Let's discuss why it might be important for you to ingest dirt. And frankly, I'm minimizing it. I'm kind of invalidating myself. And this particular product that we're going to talk about today, it's called Hydrovitalize. It is not dirt per se, but it shares some characteristics with it. It is one of the greatest supplements that exists. Now, to recap last week we talked about something called hydromolecular, right? So we have hydromolecular, we also have hydrovitalize. They have synergistic effects with each other. Hydromolecular, you may recall, was an amazing antioxidant, right? It neutralized these dangerous chemicals that are created inside your body that function like rust, for lack of a better way to conceive of them. So that's what hydromolecular does, and it does it very powerfully. And because it's such a powerful antioxidant, it's also highly anti-inflammatory, and the benefits are profound. It helps to energize the cells. It helps to protect them. It's great for detox. But when we pair it with Hydrovitalize, now we really have something. Now we're talking about a Babe Ruth, Lou Gehrig type pairing that will supercharge your system. So let's take a look at this supplement that we call Hydrovitalize. As you can tell by the name, it has something to do with hydration, and it is vital, and it revitalizes. So it's very important, and it gives life. It has life-giving properties. Okay? So when we talk about it as something that you take during the program, we talk about it in terms of its effect for hydration. And that is massively important. Hydration in the cells is incredibly important because your cells need water for every function. Water in your cells has to do with every chemical reaction that takes place in your body. And metabolism is basically the sum total of all the billions and trillions of chemical reactions that go on in your body simultaneously. It's unbelievable how complex the system is, how brilliant it is. Whoever designed it did a very good job, certainly in some ways, right? But when we talk about Hydrovitalize, we're talking about a supplement that consists of several constituents. One of them is called Shilajit. Some of you may have heard of Shilajit. Shilajit is a resin that's sourced from the Himalayas. And basically, for millions of years, this resin has been kind of conglomerating and coming together in nutrients, stacking on top of each other. A percentage of Shilajit is something called fulvic acid. So basically you have all these what's called organic materials. Organic materials are materials that are alive or were alive at some point. So you have all these little pieces of leaves and grass and all of these alive substances that are coming together and giving their best properties, right? So it's like being filtered. It's like getting the essence of all of this great life-giving stuff. And fulvic acid, one of the components of Shilajit, actually comes from peat. And peat is one of these substances, you've seen it, it's green, it kind of holds water, but it's a substance that also over the years acquires all of this organic material. And it's in a low oxygen environment, and it's in a high hydration environment, And so ultimately, it becomes sort of a superfood. So what exactly happens once you ingest it? Once you ingest this supplement, what it's able to do is it's able to bind with nutrients and help get those nutrients into the cells. Right? It's kind of like if you think of a Sherpa or you think of a smuggler, right? You need someone to guide you, and that's what this supplement is able to do. It's able to guide you into the cell. It makes the cells more sensitive, more able to be permeated. I mean, it's incredible when you think about that. As a result of the cells becoming more able to be permeated, one of the benefits of that is what it does for blood sugar. It helps sensitize the cells instead of having them be resistant. And that's very good for blood sugar. That's very good for hormones. So this is one of the benefits. Another benefit is that in helping with the transport of nutrients into the cells, it's also a powerhouse. Because now your cells have the nutrients that they need. What do your cells need? Well, they need raw materials. The furnace is not going to work unless there is a good and constant supply of firewood. So that's one of the things that it does. Now, as a result of the nutrients getting in, guess what? Those nutrients are attracting water to come into the cells. Another thing that your cells vitally need. So now we're talking about cells that were formerly depleted, that are full of life-giving nutrients and water that's necessary also to sustain life. And in fact, an interesting thing is this. When we talk about hydration, think of cells like grapes. They're supposed to be very water rich, right? But then if you suck the water out of them, what becomes of them? They turn into raisins. They shrivel. So the cells do that too. They lose their structural integrity if they don't have what they need. And now they can't function as well. What happens when your cells can't function as well? Well, you're not going to create energy. It's going to affect your metabolism in a very bad way. It's going to affect your immune system. Okay? These cells are the smallest constituents of life that we have in the body. And again, they are all like little factories, and you need those factories to be working correctly. And in order to work correctly, they have to have the nutrients and they have to have the water. So now we have the protective effect of the hydromolecular, the anti-inflammatory, and the immune modulating effects of hydromolecular, and also Hydrovitalize, because there is some crossover, right? There is some overlap in what they do. So for example, Hydrovitalize also functions as an anti-inflammatory to some degree, right? Another important benefit of Hydrovitalize, as I said, it helps with the hormone system. It helps with hydration. It has anti-inflammatory capabilities. It helps with hormone modulation. Detox. Now, this is kind of cool. The same properties of it that allow it to bind to nutrients to ship them into the cells also allow it, once inside the cells, to bind to toxins and to escort them out like a bouncer. That's a good way to think of Hydrovitalize. Hydrovitalize is a bouncer, right? It's going to bring in the things that we want. It's going to bring in the good people to the club, the ones who are going to make the party work, and it's also going to escort the bad dudes. It's going to get them out of there. So this is incredibly powerful what happens, and this is why we recommend that people take Hydrovitalize not only while they're on a program, although because it has all of these properties, it's obviously going to assist with weight loss, right? Increase cellular energy, increase hydration, which increases the efficiency and the functioning of the metabolism. So your metabolism starts kicking in again. That's obviously helping with fat loss, which is ultimately what we want. It's helping with vitality overall. But it's doing so much more than that. It's so profound. It has another capacity, which is it helps your body deal with stress. It has what's called adaptogenic properties. Now, adaptogens are those substances that kind of, when they're in your body, they help deal with stress. And they're kind of like again, I hate to use the word again, a modulator, right? They bring you back to kind of a baseline, a center, balance, as some people might say. Miyagi would say that. We love Miyagi. So it's doing all this really cool stuff. It also has other compounds in it that work with it, like curcumin, turmeric, also anti-inflammatory benefits. It's got some other things, right? So the idea is that this supplement is kind of a foundational supplement. I had asked the question whether it can function on its own as a multivitamin, multi-mineral formula, and it can't. It doesn't have enough vitamins. It's missing some, important ones. But it can still be a foundational type supplement that you can use with a multivitamin, and it's going to help the absorption. It's going to make everything else more efficient. And that's what you want. You want efficiency of your cells and of your systems. And ultimately, that's where we're going. So this is a little more scientific and geeky than I usually get. I don't often talk about mechanisms. I think it's important to me, though, that people have somewhat of an understanding of mechanisms. There's certainly a desire to. Most people don't want to know too much. It depends on the personality type. But when you're on a program or when you're just taking care of yourself nutritionally, there are some very profound things going on that you're not even aware of. And I think it's a disservice when people talk about losing weight, when people talk about doing a weight loss program, as opposed to when the focus is on revitalizing the body, giving it foundational substances, nutrition, and energy that it needs, and taking care of all the protection needs as well. You can view cells, each individual cell in your body, as little cities. And they actually take on all the functions of a city, right? So there has to be waste removal, for example. There has to be transportation. There has to be the creation of energy. Think about New York City. Or think about it as a nation. Because as a nation, you also have to guard your borders. That's become a big thing of late in this country, right? That discussion. You have to have a way of isolating the bad guys. So all of these functions are happening, and these amazing supplements are able to assist with all of these functions. The body is basically designed not only to be a self-sustaining city or nation, but it's designed to be self-healing. In order to do that, it needs the right substrates. It needs the right substances, right? It needs that raw material. So we got to get that raw material into our bodies. Now, it's an unfortunate fact that our soil has been depleted. So we cannot get the same nutrients from it now that we used to be able to. Supplements, in my opinion, are obnoxious. They happen to be necessary. I guess in that sense, they're kind of like little sisters or teachers in high school. It's obnoxious that we have to take them. We should be able to get everything we need from our foods. But unfortunately, that's not the case anymore. So if we're going to be proactive about health, then we should be taking these supplements and we should be giving our bodies the raw materials that it needs so that they can do all the functions that they do that create health. Now, at a very functional and non-thinking and superficial level, you just get the benefits. You notice the benefits. More energy, greater clarity of thought, greater stamina, a better metabolism. And that's really where our focus should be on as lay people. I mean, right? We let the geeks handle the geeky things, but it is good to delve into their world every once in a while. Right? These people who study the cells and who study the systems of the body, who find out what's needed and what it's not getting. That's valuable stuff right there. Now, obviously, when we're talking about a substance like Hydrovitalize, we are talking about a substance that has been studied. And there are some great studies that show its efficacy in doing all of these functions that we're talking about. It shows the efficacy in performance, as does hydromolecular. Now, by the way, just to be clear, when I mentioned dirt, right, and I compared the supplement to dirt, and it's not an exact comparison. I did it for shock value, right? We have to create interesting posts and headlines, and so people have some interest. Eating dirt? Are you kidding? What's wrong with you? So a big difference is that dirt is primarily inorganic materials, right? It has a benefit in the body when it's made up of things like minerals. But when we're talking about these substances, when we're talking about shilajit and fulvic acid, we're talking about substances that are a combination of organic materials, refined over the years, but also they pick up inorganic materials along the way. They pick up the minerals and the electrolytes, and they help give it to the body. They help transport it into the cells. And that's the beauty of these kind of substances and supplements. You're getting really the best of both worlds. Here's a way to think about it. Do you know anyone who composts? I have an uncle, lives on Long Island, and he's always composting. So, you know, these composters, they have these disgusting kind of composters in their backyards generally, and nothing is thrown out per se because they take materials that, for example, they don't finish eating or other kind of organic materials, and they throw it in the composter. And then once it's in there, it kind of gets refined by other chemicals, things like enzymes that, you know, break stuff down. And you know what? I don't even know what all happens in these composters, honestly. I should ask my uncle and his daughter, who's a professor of biology. But I know that they're very beneficial for plants. And as a result, he has a great garden. And that's kind of like what's happening with these substances that we're talking about right now. Okay, so I wanted to give everyone that insight. Obviously, these supplements are very well thought out. I did not come up with them. I did not come up with the program that I delivered to my clients. That was a super genius who was able to integrate all of this material. And when I say material, I'm including knowledge plus substances in the form of supplements. Plus the AI technology that we use. Hey, listen, everyone's getting into AI technology now, right? And it's amazing It has problems. We're not going to talk about that right now, but its capabilities are incredible when you talk about, ChatGPT or Claude or one of these others. If you haven't gotten into it yet, you will, because unfortunately, it's coming. It's a wave. It's a tsunami. And life won't be the same once it's fully here, or once people, wake up to its capabilities and it's ubiquitous. I digressed and now I lost my train. Oh, yeah. We've been using AI here for a while. We do a certain evaluation that uses AI technology. It's able to find and integrate all of this information so we know what's best for an individual. So that's kind of how the program was put together. That's the 20,000-foot view. There are other supplements that I haven't even talked about. But last week was Hydromolecular. This week was Hydrovitalize. We covered some good ground. And I think this is a good note to leave off on. Remember, the substances themselves, they do not jump up and jump into your throat. It has to come from a conscious decision that you want to increase your health. And when you do that, that's when I can assist you with the use of these amazing products. So that's going to be it for today. Everyone have a great week. It's going to be somewhat gray, apparently, but as Fontaine said in Les Mis, rain will make the flowers grow. No! It was Eponine. Neither here nor there. Have a good one. Take care.